Hello neighbors, I'm really excited that we are going to be getting started on this together. I know that the county has requested a lot of masks. This is a specific pattern that our county is requesting for the hospitals during this COVID-19 crisis. There is another video that has been created that just goes step by step how to make these masks. This is the AB mask. That video is going to be much more concise, and I highly recommend watching it if you're looking for a video just to explain how to make the AB mask. That's made by my friend. She's amazing and a much better seamstress than me. This specific video is for the fabric we will be using. Since the three of us are going to be working together to make these masks, I thought it'd be helpful to have one concise video that the three of us could reference with the specific measurements of this fabric that we're using and things like that. So you may recognize the fabric. This is actually from my children's clothing line. We usually make kids' clothes out of this, but we are repurposing all the fabric we have in stock to instead make masks for the hospitals and healthcare workers. So yeah, let's get started and go from there. Okay, so there are a couple important things to note here. First, I have pre-washed all of our fabric. It was brand new, but I washed it so that it would shrink, so we do not have shrinkage once our masks are complete. Secondly, everyone who's handling this fabric needs to make sure that we are adhering to extreme protocols in order to keep the fabric and ourselves safe. Anyone else who is watching this, please note that sewing together or sewing as a neighborhood or whatever group you are in order to make these masks for the hospital is not an excuse to abandon social distancing protocols. Me and my two neighbors who will be working on this together are still making sure that every time we handle the fabric, we have freshly cleaned hands, we are wearing masks, we are not meeting each other in person, we are doing porch drop-offs, everything is being sterilized, all of the machines are being disinfected, every single precaution is being taken to make sure that we do not pass any germs to each other or to the fabric. So that's important to note, because otherwise these masks are not very helpful if it is just helping to spread the virus. So that being said, we also have a couple notes that the county has given us about specifically what they require in these masks for our hospitals and healthcare workers. A couple of those notes that they have given us are to use 2-ply cotton or cotton poly masks, cut them on the fold. Now we are using 100% natural fiber. This is 100% cotton fabric. No elastic. That will not hold up during their disinfecting process. This is the specific pattern that they would like everyone to be using if you're going to be giving this to the hospitals or healthcare workers. We can share this, but please do not share this for a profit. This is specifically to be helping our community and our nation during this very difficult time. If you would like to find the pattern, you can find that on Instructables.com. It's the AB mask for a nurse by a nurse. And lastly, they will be needing extra things beyond masks. They're going to need some hospital gowns and things like that shortly. So make sure that your hands are washed, make sure that you are following all disinfecting protocols, and please be safe during this process. If you have any symptoms whatsoever of being sick, please do not make masks, as that is not helpful to the community. Okay, of course the first thing to do is print out your pattern. Make sure that you measure it once it has been printed out to make sure that it meets all of the measurement requirements on here, and then once you have printed it, go ahead and cut it out so that we can then trace it straight onto our fabric. Now I have taken the time, given the specific fabric that we have, it is about 40 inches by 35 inches. All of the prints are going to be like that for as much fabric as we have, and we will just make masks until we run out of the fabric. So I have played around with it and found the best way to make it all fit here on what per yard. So based on our 40 by 35 inch fabric, we can make 4 masks with 1 extra fold. It'll fit exactly the number of strips we need for the ties and for the side binding. So this is the system we will be using to cut out all of our fabric here. To make our life easier, the first thing I'm going to do once I have a yard of fabric is I'm going to cut off all the selvage on the sides, so we're left with just the actual printable area that we're going to be using here for this mask. So let's go ahead and do that first. I'm going to lay the yard out. It won't all quite fit on the cutting mat I have here, but I'm going to lay as much of it out as I can. The 35-inch side, fabric side here, will fit across my board since it's a 36-inch board, but the 40-inch side we're going to have to play with a little bit. So go ahead and get your weights, and you can put that across the fabric in order to keep it still, and that will also help us cut as straight a line as possible. So go ahead and cut off all your selvage, and we'll go from there. Okay, now that we have cut off all of the edges here, we're going to make sure that our fabric is laid out the correct direction. So we need the long side going across here, and the vertical side going down. So that is going to help us maximize our space here. So we need 40-inch strips cut. That's the first thing we're going to do here in order to maximize our fabric. So I'm going to be using my long ruler here, and I will use that across all of the fabric in order to cut the strips. So using my ruler here, I can look through the clear ruler to see exactly where 1.5 inches is on the width. So once I have that placed along the edge at 1.5 inches, I can put pressure on the ruler and then just cut the strip as we go. Okay, so the next step here, now that we have cut our 8 strips, is to cut out the mask part. So I'm going to be folding what we have left of our fabric. Everything that was in blue is now gone. And we're going to be working on this purple section, the mask. So where you see the dotted line, that's actually where the fold is going to be. So we're going to fold the fabric, and then we're going to be cutting based on that. So in order to see the exact amount I need and use as little fabric as possible, I'm actually going to flip this over because I want my first fold to be here. I want to be cutting the mask out here. So in order to see how far back I need to fold it, I'm going to flip it all over so I have the wrong side facing me. And that will enable me to see the exact amount I need here for my mask. Now we still want this to be the fold, so we have the fold here, so I'm going to flip it this way so we get it all correct. And that's almost perfect. I'm going to do just slightly less. Again, the idea here is to conserve as much fabric as possible in order to make as many masks as possible. So that is perfect right there. Okay, so there we have it. We have our very first mask cut out. Make sure it all lines up nicely. Now when you're doing this, please be very careful to make sure that you are not gonna hurt your fingers, and ideally don't cut the paper on the pattern either, because then it'll change the size. The next step here is just going to be to fold the fabric the same way again, repeating that first step for column 2 and column 3, and then we will work on that last section where we'll do the shorter cuts there. Okay, so we have cut out all of the masks. We now have enough for 4 masks total with 1 extra here. And now we're going to cut out the last part here, which is going to be the smaller strips, which is the binding for the side of the mask. So we're going to cut out these little green strips, and again we should have 8, which will be enough for our 4 masks. So that's our next step here. Okay, so for our last step, we're just going to be cutting 8 strips that are 1.5 inches wide by 10 inches long. Now the remaining fabric I have is actually 22 inches long in total. So to make our life easier, I'm just going to fold it in half and cut it that way. And it's okay if it's a little bit longer because it'll be trimmed during the sewing of the mask anyway. And that'll probably be the fastest way, most efficient way to cut this. Okay, and just like that, we have 4 masks ready to go, and we are ready to start sewing.